Oh.
Yeah, that coming through. And the people on the Zoom call, can you hear us okay?
They're on mute.
I can hear you fine.
Oh, good, okay.
It's had fall off the table.
Salomon, can you repeat that again? So we can make sure that we can hear you now.
I can hear you fine.
Okay, great, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our city council meeting. We did recently came from executive session where we discussed real estate and personnel. We currently do have Lisa Almy on Zoom. Is Ms. Linda there for the voice on Zoom?
Huh?
Is Linda on Zoom?
Not yet, no,
Or is-
no, just Ms. Salaminas.
So we want to call meeting to order. We have
This meeting is being recorded.
Sorry, I'm taking that off. Yeah.
Thank you for allowing us to speak and today. God, we ask that you be with us tonight as we come to business on the campus of our big city. We pray that this will be that you're going to order, and that you are represented by you. We pray for each family that's represented here, each person that is spiritual. We pray that you give us kind of mercy that will carry that to their families. We thank you, yes, and we need you. Amen. Let us believe the prayer. Move on to the motion for the approval of minutes. So moved. That's, people- that-
Lisa.
And vote. Councilman Vogt,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hunt.
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Allen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Green.
Yes.
Councilman Allen, what's on yet?
No,
Thank you.
We'll now move on to the approval of accounts payable. Do I get a motion? Um, Any questions or comments? No questions or comments?
Councilwoman Green,
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen,
Yeah.
Councilwoman Hunt.
Yes.
Councilman Vogt.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And there was a presentation of the Pennsylvania American Water here.
Yes, we are one, that's one thing, Pennsylvania American Water. That currently, I will, and, well,
Sure. May I read my answer?
yes.
Thank you for having us today. My name is Carla Ron. I'm the Senior Manager of Government and External Affairs for Pennsylvania American Water. I also
Pretty good. There, sorry.
Is that better? Okay. So thank you for having Pennsylvania American Water this evening. Mr. Logan had asked me to join you all at one of your upcoming sessions to talk about the recent rate request filing that Pennsylvania American Water submitted to the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission. So we wanted to go over that rate approval process, but also we have Joe Woodward, who's our operations director, and Tawana Dean, who's a manager of our customer compliance group here as well, to answer any questions and give a quick overview about some investments that we've made in the city, but also about our customer assistance programs that we have available to city residents as well. So I wanted to start just about the rate filing and the rate request and that process, high level. The rates and our terms of service are regulated by the Public Utility Commission. And any requests that we have submitted to them could in all, some, or part be approved by the commission. Our initial request includes an investment of $1.13 billion in water and wastewater investments and improvements throughout Pennsylvania, of which, again, some of those we'll talk about that are local here to the city of Coatesville. The commission will spend the next several months reviewing our request in detail, and they will outline multiple opportunities for public input. That's one of the reasons that James thought it would be important for us to come this evening, is to kind of go over that process, share the opportunities. And in your packets that I left there on everyone's spot is a one-page fact sheet, the first one there. It goes over in a little bit more detail, more than I would do justice, the actual process for the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission and their rate process. So I just wanted to point that out. But where we are now in that process is we are awaiting the procedural schedule to be determined by the Public Utility Commission. And that's where we will find out when those public hearings will be and where. In addition, there will be evidentiary hearings, ability to do written testimony, offer written testimony, and also to provide legal briefs if that's needed. So that process is, I think, really what would be important and beneficial for council and Mr. Logan to receive. And I'm committed to get that to you as soon as the Public Utility Commission makes that public. Again, there will be public input hearings, and that is the opportunity for the public and utility customers to voice their concerns or support for any rate filing on behalf of the public utility at hand, in this case, Pennsylvania American Water. So once the Public Utility Commission receives our initial request, which was at the end of April, they have 9 months to review. It's a quite detailed, complex, and thorough process. And that's part of that one pager there goes over those steps in detail. But from 9 months from the end of April, so early 2023, we expect to hear from the Public Utility Commission on their decision. And from there, those rates will go into effect as ordered by the Public Utility Commission shortly thereafter their order. So that is the kind of high level overview of the process that we wanted to offer. If it's okay with you, I would ask Joe Woodward from our operations group to come up and go over some of the specific details of those investments that have been making around.
Regarding the hearing process, will there be, now this is an overall increase for you for every area you serve.
That's correct.
So will there be a public hearing here that the people here will be And then next question.
Then
So-
you'll just call her back and tell her I'm listening to a council meeting, and I'll call her shortly.
Everyone should be on mute.
Your question about if there will be a hearing here. So that is part of what we're waiting to hear from the procedural schedule. I do know that in the past, there were hearings that took place in or right around here in this system. And so we're waiting to hear the Public Utility Commission schedule, and that's from,
I'm saying that because, you know, I know that we have a bad service area. And if you're gonna have a hearing about the increase in hearing, say in Westchester, or, I mean, Lancaster, or somewhere like that, a lot of the residents who may have questions or may be interested in participating may not be.
right, and part of the protection of this process is that it really is the Public Utility Commission's processes and procedures. The Pennsylvania American Water does not determine or dictate where those hearings are. I do believe, as it was in the past, that the Public Utility Commission takes those factors into account as you're referencing. And so I'm not sure exactly yet. We're waiting on that schedule as well. And we can get that to you as soon as we receive it. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, sure.
Good evening. My name is Joe Woodward. I'm the Senior Director of Operations for Pennsylvania American Water for Eastern PA. And thanks for having me this evening to talk about some of our infrastructure, some of the improvements we've made and plan to make here in the system. So let me start out by giving an overview of our current facilities that serve the city of Coatesville and surrounding communities. So we have a water treatment plant, the Rock Run Water Treatment Plant. It has a capacity of 7 million gallons per day. That treatment plant has two sources of water. We have a Rock Run Reservoir, and also we have a intake on the west branch of the Brandywine Creek. We don't really use that often, but our primary source of water is the Rock Run Reservoir. And on the wastewater side, we have our Coastal Wastewater Treatment Plant. The rated capacity of that treatment plant is also 7 million gallons per day, but it's also capable of treating up to 22 million gallons per day during wet weather events that occur. And we have, in this system, we have 222 miles of water main and 148 miles of wastewater sewer pipe. So that's what we maintain this area. And this infrastructure serves not only the city, but also some surrounding communities as well. Infrastructure upgrade projects are not only an important investment in public health and safety, but they also help support economic health of the community served by Pennsylvania American Water. Some of the economic impact studies show that for every $1 million invested in water infrastructure, upwards of 15 jobs are generated throughout the economy. Through its continued investments, Pennsylvania American Water's 2021 and 2022 infrastructure upgrade projects will support more than 3,700 jobs each year. In the years 2020 and 2021, system improvements in the Coatesville system totaled over $32 million. This work replaced aging infrastructure, prevented sewer backups and blockages, improved water quality, and replaced lead water service lines on customer side services. We also replaced a number of water storage facilities as part of this work as well. Some examples of these include, we are currently actively participating in the 4th and Fleetwood Street train station relocation project, which is ongoing. We've improved our leak detection service to increase surveillance of water leak detection equipment in coastal city limits. Our Rock Run water treatment plant upgrade that will help improve water treatment, process control, water distribution system reliability, and increased resiliency with new power generators at multiple booster pump stations in the distribution system. Improved disinfection treatment with installation of UV systems. Replaced and added new process control equipment to further optimize treatment efficiencies and designed to improve the quality of water. By doing this, we'll lower the disinfection byproducts, which are cancer causing. And so making these improvements improves the water quality and also the safety of the water. So the UV system is being put in place. The UV system is it disinfects the water along with chlorine, and that's done to inactivate Giardia cyst and Cryptosporidium. So they're two microorganisms that UV will destroy that our current chlorine disinfection does not treat, especially Cryptosporidium. Wastewater treatment upgrade that will help improve wastewater treatment, process control, collection system reliability. And there's a fact sheet that you should have in your packets that we brought to you today that goes over specific project. It highlights in detail, including several within the city limits. So this sheet talks about our capital investments made the last 3 years throughout the area, and specifically it goes into specific streets that we replaced and dollars associated with that, and the specific projects in the city. And the last thing I would like to address with the council this evening is some of the concerns surrounding odors that have periodically occurred over the years at the wastewater treatment plant. It's something that we want to take on head on. Well, it's something we recognize. We've made significant investments in the coastal wastewater treatment plant to expand capacity to meet the growing needs of the community, meet environmental compliance standards, and address odor issues that intermittently have impacted neighborhoods around the facility. So a couple of projects that we've done in the last year to address odors of the treatment plant is included. We covered up 2 aerobic digesters. We've had tours out there. We had council people from South Coatesville come out, and 2 of the digesters, their tanks that hold the sludge in. We put covers on those tanks to hold the odors in. We also put an odor control system in, and there was also some complaints about where we load the sludge into the trucks and take it away to landfills and land application, that it was visible, so we enclosed that building, so it was enclosed. Those improvements have made a difference and improved the situation. We are not done. We have a big project this year. We're adding a 3rd aerobic digester and another odor control system. It's going to be going out to bid here probably within a couple of months. It's going to be a significant investment at the wastewater treatment plant to address odors. It's somewhere in the neighborhood of about $8 million. And I will say, we had an issue back in late February, early March timeframe where we know there were odors being emitted from the plant. We had equipment break the air lines that feed the digesters that put air into the tanks to prevent the tanks from emitting odors. The line broke. That tank has actually been drained. It's been cleaned out, and we have actually waiting on parts. The parts are supposed to be in July 15th, but we do recognize back during that time there were issues, and that's the reason why. But again, we know that we have work to do. We are addressing the situation. Again, some of the programs we made have made a difference. They've improved the situation. Other than the time we had that issue back in late February, early March. But we're not done. We're looking at it's probably about about an $8 million capital improvement, that a 3rd aerobic digester and an odor control system for these tanks that are there. So I'd be happy to answer any questions about infrastructure, and then I'm going to turn it over to Juan Dean to talk about customer programs that are available for customers. That plant was built in the early 2000s. Is that right? 2000.
The wastewater plant?
Yeah.
The upgrade was 2009 and 2000.
Okay, upgrade.
Yeah, it was originally 2001.
Well, there's been a plant there since the early 90s.
Yeah.
So, which version do you want to know about?
Well, I have a question. Zach, you're talking about February and March. it was a really, really big issue. It smelled, all the way throughout the city. And it was so hard trying to reach anybody regarding it. To the point that, people were reaching out to me consistently about it, and I called the EPA. I didn't know who else to call because in calling Pennsylvania American, no one would return a phone call. No one would, there was just no information given about it. And then we got the information that it was reported and that, it wasn't being worked. So my concern about that is how are the, how do we contact, like, new stuff like that, because that's major. It's not, you know, you said you had council people from South Louisville, come out and, look at it, but that smell circulated all throughout the city of Louisville.
Right.
And it was very bad for quite some time.
Yeah.
Then it dissipated, and then it came back, and, you know, we haven't smelled it in a while.
Right.
But, so how do we handle that? How do we contact? Because there was no contact, where no one that we could contact with Pennsylvania American that would return the phone.
Yeah, so I will give you my, before I leave, I will give you my business cards. And then if you can send me my emails on there, send me an email.
Okay.
We will get you a contact list of all the local people here. I just want to introduce Jim Kelly's here and Bud Thomas. They're both, Bud's on the water side, Jim's on the wastewater side. We'll get you a list of all local people. When you have a problem, we want you reaching out to those local folks there. They're here. They'll be able to get you the answer you're looking for. And that's, so we want to make sure you have those numbers, but I'll give you my card from Doug speaking.
Thank you so much.
So, like I said, I'm going to turn it over to Tawana Dean. She's going to talk about our customer assistance programs with you.
Thanks, Juan.
Good evening, everyone.
How are you?
How are you? I'll just speak Joe.
Councilwoman Green, could you get a business card for me, please?
I just revealed this part.
Thank you.
I got one for you too, Ms. Holiday.
Thank you.
Me.
Thank you.
Ed,
Oh, you got on also?
Okay, we got it.
We got one. Okay. We have one for you also, Mr. Simpson.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tawana Dean, and I'm the Senior Manager for Customer Compliance. And so the thing that I'm going to talk to you about, programs available to assist our customers with paying the bill. We brought along flyer information that we share with your constituents. So the first program I'll talk about is Pennsylvania American Water Help to Others program. It's been around for over 30 years. The Help to Others program is a three-pronged program. First, it offers grants to customers up to $500 for water, another $500 for wastewater. For a customer receiving both water and wastewater, could receive up to $1,000. To be eligible for this program, a customer has to be at or below 200% of the federal poverty level. Another part of the Help to Others company program is a bill discount program. So the bill discount program offers 85% discount on the monthly service charge and a 10% discount on the volumetric water charge. On wastewater, it offers a 30% discount on the total wastewater charge. So a customer could receive approximately $20 in savings on their water bill and about $23.52 on their wastewater bill. To be eligible for the bill discount program, a customer has to be at or below 100. Once a customer is part of the discount program, they're automatically eligible for a conservation kit. Conservation kits are mailed to customers, and in that kit, there's a water shower head, water saving faucet aerators, fill cycle diverter, and leak detection guide pack.
The kit also includes a pamphlet filled with money-saving tips and information about water conservation. Some other programs available through the federal government and state is LIWAC. That's the Low Income Household Water Assistance Program. It's Pennsylvania's temporary emergency program that helps low-income families pay overdue water and wastewater. LIWAC is a grant and of course doesn't have to be repaid. The grant is for water and wastewater with a maximum of $2,500 for each. At this point, customers of Pennsylvania American Water have received over $5 million in those. Another program is the Pennsylvania Homeowners Assistance Fund, also known as PAHAC. It's administered by the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency, and it supports homeowners in the Commonwealth who are financially impacted. ERAC, the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, is administered by counties here in Chester County with the administrator, and it provides rental and utility bill assistance for qualified renters and landlords. Looking back at the programs that the company offers, regardless of income, all residential customers are eligible for at least one installment plan on an outstanding balance. This allows an unpaid balance to be paid over an extended period of time. The budget billing program allows for similar bills each month so a customer can budget, and their bill may adjust every 3 months if more used. We are making efforts to also share this information directly with service providers and organizations and apparatus. We want them to spread the word about these programs that help connect customers. In addition to the city, our team has initiated outreach to the Second Century Alliance, area church groups, and the Coatesville Area Resource Network. We're open certainly to any other recommendations on us getting this information out to on our customer system.
The first question, you said the financial assistance, 200, I didn't catch the number. You said 200 under, what was that again?
So the Help to Others grant,
Yeah.
the 500 for water, up to 500 for wastewater,
Right.
up to 200% of the federal poverty income guidelines.
So what's that? What is, what's the property guidelines?
Oh, okay.
What's the numbers?
No, oh,
No, man, I got it.
you got it,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
That's about it, yeah.
It's approximately $40,000 to one.
You know, I'm sorry, that information is not on the sheet here, but we can get you that information because
It's approximately.
it's that's based on federal.
It's on the property.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why there wasn't no numbers here.
Anyone else on that?
Thank
Any questions from anyone on the Zoom? Deja, Charlene, Saturday, or
None from me.
thank you.
But I'm sorry,
None for me.
are these for owners or for rent?
So different programs have different guidelines, but the Help to Others public program, if the building renter's name, they can get that. If they own property, they can also.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Ben, can you turn off the mic on the podium? Older mic?
What, no,
No, turn it up.
I know, I have to find out what it. Letter
The
it is.
letter.
Oh.
Ron, are you coming back to cleaning? Oh, no, I didn't know the clarification.
Oh, that's okay.
Oh.
Sure. My business card's in the folder as well, so I work and sit in the same office with Bud and Jim, and so just another contact if you need anything, and we talk often, so I have to be a resource for you. And I can also offer the expanded,
I can also offer the expanded details on the poverty levels that you were asking about. I can follow up with that as well.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you for your time. Should I mute? Thank you.
No, there's one more presenter. Thank you.
Next presentation is, Mr. Steve Dawson. That is, advanced life support, right?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm here to update you on the status of the advanced life support and departure of Medic 93, also known as Tower Direct. As of September 1st, they will no longer be in the city or responding to the city, except for extreme circumstances when they'll be coming from Huntington. So in the process, the Washington Host Company is working on upgrading their service from BLS, which is basic life support, bandages, oxygen, no IVs, no drugs, to an intermediate level, which they can start IVs, give certain drugs, no heart medications or pain meds. They can give intermediate drugs.
I have a question. So they will be servicing Fort Chester County, just not here.
Tower Direct?
Yeah.
Yes, Honeybrook and Morgantown. That's what we'll be based out of.
So they won't do us?
That's
South
correct.
Coatesville, Valley, Cowan?
Correct. As of September 1st, they will no longer be in this area. So the Washington Host Company expects to have that intermediate level by the time Tower Direct leaves the area. They also, after that, as soon as they can, will advance their services to the advanced level, being paramedics. They're hoping it'll be by September. They're having a few issues with supply chain. Heart monitors are hard to get. Hiring is not easy. They're working with Representative Williams and the state to get their licensures quicker. There is advanced life support paramedics available in Valley Township, in West Callan Township, and Downingtown is moving the advanced life support ambulance to the Thorndale Fire Company. So even if that paramedic service is not in the city at that time on September 1st, we'll have outside agencies that will be able to cover. A couple of things that we need to consider is there needs to be, we have Tower Direct in our resolution as a responder. That has to be changed. So when the 911 center gets a call, it doesn't direct it to them and somebody from Honeybrook's coming. We need to make sure we change that. After the primary, it's done by ADL, which is fancy word for GPS. So the closest advanced life support unit will be coming after the primary. Washington should be that primary. Any questions?
You just said, Downtown had one. Who else in the area and the surrounding area? I mean, Parkburg or Westwood?
Westwood had a paramedic at the Westwood Firehouse in Valley Township. They also have one at the Wagontown Firehouse in West County. So they will be the backups to when the Washington get their ALS service.
So you saying that
You do in the meantime.
they're having a hard time getting equipment, like the heart monitors?
They are.
So, and really, so what are they going to try to get that?
They're going to every vendor they know. They talked to Representative Williams about it, see what the state can help with.
Is it a financial problem or?
No,
it's not available?
It's the logistics, it's the physical piece of stuff, for lack of words. The heart monitor itself just isn't available. The drugs also. You can order them now, and it's going to be 3 months. There you go.
Wait, I mean, you said it's not a financial issue? That they're giving up on the city?
No, we weren't talking about Tower Direct.
Oh,
We
it
were
is a
talking-
financial issue that they're giving up on the city.
That's
It
what
all
I
comes
said.
down to cost.
Yes.
They said they can't make any money working in the city.
Any other questions about that?
Anyone else have any questions?
I have a question.
Mr. Simpson?
That it's going to.
Mr. Dobson, in the meantime,
Hold on.
since,
It's just sad, you know, there's direction, but we hope that we can have, the advanced care that we need for our residents sooner than later.
Agreed, and the Washington Post Company will still provide that basic life support. And then when they're busy or out of town, because of the distance now to the hospitals, the fire department goes and provides that service until an ambulance or a paramedic can get there.
So we're talking, Westwood and Wagontown, Thorndale, I mean, probably around 7 to 8 minutes from Pittsfield. What are we looking at with,
Westwood's 5 minutes,
South Side,
Wagontown's
Wagontown?
6 to 7.
Okay.
So you said the fire department will fill in the interim, fire department equipped to,
Or BLS. Yeah, we're equipped for the basic life support.
Mr. Simpson?
yeah, Mr. Dobson, so Washington Hose Company doesn't have the advanced life support system or the paramedics right now, correct?
Correct.
All right, and so in a meeting with Tower Health, they basically said it came down to a money issue, and that's why they're leaving the city. I understand that the Washington Hose Company is trying to get their advanced life support system. You know, it seems like we're relying on a lot of the outer lying and our volunteer fire companies to provide this. Would it be something for the city of Coatesville to look into?
Yes, it's something that we need to look into, so that we ensure that we have those services.
You mean in negotiating with Tower, maybe financially? I'm not sure.
Tower Direct is not coming back to the city.
But is it strictly because of financial that they're not coming?
Yes, they told us last week that when they transported somebody from the city of Coatesville, prior to Brandywine, they could go there because that was a Tower hospital. Now they're going to a non-Tower Direct entity. They're going to Chester County Hospital or Paoli Hospital. So they don't recoup that money by simply staying in the hospital.
Yeah, but if we do these services, if Washington Post provides these services, it's not free. It's going to be a fee for service. And I'm saying if we have that, if Tower Health has the capability already to do that, it's just a matter of talking to them, doing the same thing, because they're not going to be doing it free. Would it be worth a conversation by the city?
We've already actually made a recommendation in a meeting last week. And, you know, they are just not in a negotiating position.
I have a question.
Tower is the Tower Direct, or Medic 93 is a nonprofit organization that works for Tower. And basically, Tower is saying to them, we want you at our facility. And the 3 facilities that they would be going to are the ones that's going to pay them the money.
Basically keeping it all in there.
In their network.
I have a question.
But
When
to,
Brandywine,
You got me? Hold up,
when Brandywine,
you got me? Yes.
yes,
Wait a minute.
to Mr. Simpson's point, and Steve's point as well, the city of Coatesville will have to, in my opinion, we should prepare to get this.
Project.
And we need to have that discussion. But
You got me?
so when Brandywine closed and the Tower paramedics, you know, made the decision that they would service the city, at that point in time, I mean, they knew that Brandywine was closed. They knew that they would have to transport to other hospitals. So they knew that back then. What makes it so different now?
I think if you look at this there that, I don't know if it's here, but the hospital, even though Tower 93 is a nonprofit, if they were a nonprofit, it kind of belongs to Tower Health. And Tower Health is pulled its thread and said no more.
And Mr. Simpson, Councilman Simpson, he was, actually, Councilman, if you remember, you answered almost that identical question. And what was their response?
They actually said that they knew then that they wouldn't be able to, they'd only be here for a couple months. And I'm like, then why didn't you tell us that then? We put it on a resolution to have you be a backup for our EMS, and you knew then that you weren't going to be here long. Why didn't you tell us then? Why did you waste our time? Why did you waste our effort? And I don't want to remind anybody because there's only one person that didn't vote to put them on the resolution. And here we are, they're giving up on the city again. Again. They could care less about us. It all comes down to money. Do you remember that, Vice President Green?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I didn't hear any response.
No, we all remember it. You know, but at the same time, Mr. Simpson, you know, they made some false statements or false claims. They were very specific about the fact that even though the hospital was closing, they were a separate entity to the hospital. And that they made their own decisions, how they presented it.
So maybe it's time for us to start worrying about ourselves and not worrying about all the other volunteer fire companies that want to provide service to us. We do it on our own.
Yeah, so it goes back to the conversations we've been having, and it's time to start putting it into motion. Because my concern, all the little back and forth about what they did, what they said, what they didn't say, it doesn't help when we have a resident that is in dire need of medical assistance right away. And so I'm not interested in all this back and forth of who voted which way.
Right. Yep.
What we need to do now is move forward and put something in motion so we can protect our citizens of Cookstown.
Do it on our own. I agree.
Definitely, thank you.
I know that that's one of the issues, and I think it needs to be more clear than there, even with our fire. I think that it needs to be.
And when these meetings come, I want to be notified so I can be there. Thank you. Thank you.
I think it needs to have priority at this point.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I agree.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Steve?
Thank you, Steve.
Discussion items. Is there any discussion on minutes? Second discussion item is food.
Did you say code?
The founding, I was getting ready to address you, but you wanted on the agenda, so, yeah.
Yes, I did. So the reason I asked for codes issues to be put on the agenda is because I have been receiving a lot of calls from residents in reference to codes issues that we have ordinances on the books for. Now, council doesn't, we don't have anything to do with the inner workings of the day-to-day operations of the city, but we are the ones that, vote on the ordinances and, how properties should look, how things should be maintained. And if you drive around our city right now, just codes issues, tall grass, trash, overgrown shrubbery, weeds. There's areas that are looking pretty poor. And when I get the calls, I pass them on. Doesn't seem like some of them are being addressed. And if they're addressed, then they're not being followed up on. I have a personal issue that I've been dealing with every season for 3 years now, spring, summer, fall. It's grass, weeds, and overgrown shrubbery, which has now caused rodent issues. Winter, it's no removal of snow and ice. And other folks that have called me, they're calling me repeatedly now because the issues aren't being addressed. And I only know through a right to know that the instant tickets that are being issued there's no enforcement on them. There's no enforcement on the fines, and there's no follow-up on it. And I just think because we're the ones that put the ordinances on the book, as a city, we can do better. And there's no reason we have to hold landlords accountable, owner occupants accountable, because there's issues in both of the areas. Some are rented properties, some are owner occupant, and we just need to do better because in every ward you can ride around and find these issues, and it's not appealing. And I don't know how we can expect people to come in here and buy homes or do different things. And we have a lot of projects going on, so we need to make sure that our landlords and owner occupants are maintaining their properties.
Mr. Logan had asked me earlier to write it up and make it look like it. We do have a couple more people in our police office, and I truly believe that they are trying to attack and get to the problem. But he had suggested that we write up some blueprints for them and run a handle. I think that for so long, we did not have the people that we needed in that department. And I know that we did hire a couple people. We actually need a couple more. But in trying to get caught up, there's a lot of people who've had issues. But I think the best way to handle when people are calling regarding code issues is, I think it's best if they contact the post office and file a complaint. That way it's trackable, and I just think that, people, we have a discussion, code needs to understand that if someone calls to report an incident, that incident will get written up, or when we go out, we're not going to that person and saying, your neighbor contacted us about your grant. That should not be the conversation. People should be able to contact the post office, give you the lead, and go out there and handle it confidentially, addressing the problem. You get there and verify that there's a problem, it doesn't matter who told. You know what I mean? So I think that that'll alleviate the issues, because we really need people to call in. That's the bottom line, is I'm the elected official, I'm not a spokesperson. I can call your issue in, but if we have an actual incident that is reported, keep your track and it'll probably get handled much better. That way they have it, they'll have a paper trail that they can follow. And I think that us as council people, we need to make sure that we're encouraging people to do that as opposed to call us. Right. Now, you call us if you called it in and nothing has ever happened. But the onset of it, they should call the code department. And I just ask that you complete that paperwork for Mr. Logan on this Halloween so that the issues can be addressed. They can look at your concern. We all have concerns, so there's not one particular area. I tell you, folks is probably backed up for months. Remember, during the pandemic, there was no inspections being allowed to be done for a whole year, and we were already behind. So it's going to take a minute. And so, if you could provide them with that information.
Right.
I do plan on providing that, but some of the issues have been ongoing. And so I have emails to show that I did address these issues. And I do always encourage the residents to contact City Hall directly, but some of them unfortunately refused to do that. And so I'm not going to tell them that I'm not going to help them. And some individuals that have called me, they have contacted Codes Herself and not got a resolution, and then they call me. But I am going to type that bullet point up, but I've been sending emails on certain things for 3 years now, and those issues aren't corrected.
But I'm not asking you to not help anyone, but what I'm saying is that we have to, the reality is that if someone has a complaint, they need to file it. They really do, especially if it's their property, if they're reporting they live next door to someone and we risk, and they have to understand that the thing's confidential. We will not, that information will not be given out, and I'm quite sure that Mr. Dodson is sitting here and, that they'll make it very clear to everyone in that codes office that it's confidential information,
Okay, well, we're going to have to see that first because they have given the information out. And that's the reason people do not want to call themselves. A citation was issued about something I complained about, and my name was written on the citation.
Well, and that might have been because they wrote in where the council person reporting, but I don't know, I'm just stating, but, Mr. Logan has something.
No, I just want to add, we did have this conversation, and it is an ongoing conversation, and there are no excuses. I mean, the codes department is doing the best they can with what we have. And as has been shared with everyone this evening, we are adding additional staff to the department. But what we're faced with, I mean, we come into a situation that's been going on for more than 15 years. This community is growing. We have residents, renters, and landlords alike, and I'll be very honest. Some of them do not care about the way their homes look like. They don't care about the trash. They don't care about home ownership, and we have to change that. And the way to do it is actually what Ms. Alameen has talked about, is enforcement. We have to get better at enforcement. But when we start to enforce, just so everyone knows, we will get criticized for that. So it's not that we are ignoring any of the issues that are going on in the city. We are trying to address them in a way that there's a balance here. There are some people who are seniors and they can't get out, cut their lawns or, trim weeds. So we look at that. We look at all of the issues that come up with renters. Steve and Chip have been working on a process that we've been implementing almost over a year now. That includes the Smart Gov application that we're going to be using. So all of these things that we've talked about, and they have been on the table for 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years, we are addressing. We do not turn a blind eye to the residents in this community. And I promise you that. I don't make promises. I know for a fact that our codes people are trying to address all of the issues in this community. And I know that it's very hard to do. We have a big ship to turn around. We made tremendous strides in the last 5 years. Ms. Alameen, you're absolutely right. Some mornings when I drive to the city, it looks like a bomb has fallen, in someone's garbage can or dumpster. And it doesn't look pretty. We unfortunately, we can't monitor people 24/7 because, we've shown you pictures of alleys that Public Works have gone out to clean. And within 3 days, it's back to like a dumping spot, We see it on Community Lane, we see it on Chestnut, we see it on Lombard, we see it on the train, we see it everywhere. And I mean, short of trying to chase these people down, it's a challenge. But moving forward, and this is why I asked if you have recommendations, we are all ears. And we're just going to try to get better every day that we face this challenge.
Mr. Logan, it's Ed Simpson. If I could chime in here. I'm gonna have to respectfully disagree with you on some of these issues because there's been an issue that one of my constituents complained about almost 2 years ago. It was about chickens in the city, which are illegal and you're not allowed to have. So then I was told, oh, well, we made a mistake. We went to the wrong address. Then it was, oh, well, they appealed the instant ticketing and we don't have an appeals board in place. And oh, okay, now we have an appeals board. We're getting it set up. This is going on almost 2 years, Mr. Logan, 2 years. There's no excuse for it going on this long, 2 years. And the chickens are still there. And the constituent is still complaining.
You're absolutely right. I don't have an excuse for that.
Yeah, I think we need.
Well, then what do we
to-
do? We don't need excuses on why. We need action. Actions speak louder than words, Mr. Logan.
I agree.
Well, I would just like to say, I agree. We need action, and going from 2 years not having anything in place till today, we do now have the appeals board to address the instant ticketing issues. Sounds like there's been action. Maybe
have they-
not as
so have
much
they
as
called
we're
an
looking.
appeals?
Excuse me, I waited while you were speaking. We may not have made as much progress as we would have desired. But there is movement. The chickens aren't the only issue in the city. I'm not saying they're the least important, but I am saying they aren't the only one. And there have been ongoing issues for more than 2 years. Hearing Ms. Alamine's comment, it was longer than 2 years with her issue. So there are a lot of issues on the table that need to be dealt with. We can't do it all at once, but we have to acknowledge and appreciate any movement we make as opposed to being in a standstill or just going backwards. I have an issue with the instant ticketing itself because I feel like you come out and you give somebody an instant ticket for their grass being 2 feet high. Is a ticket warranted? Yes. But do you understand the circumstances behind the grass being 2 feet high? Is there someone there that cannot do it? Do they not have the resources to get someone to do it? Is there another recourse for them as opposed to adding to their problem with cutting their grass or what have you, adding a ticket on top of it? We're in a real delicate position here, but pulling down anything that's been built to this point isn't helping.
Well, with my issue, Councilwoman Lavender Norris, my neighbor has a really good job. Bought a $250,000 house.
That's personal, and I can't
Okay,
handle
well,
that.
I'm going to say this. The issue over there has gotten so bad that now there's rodents infestation. And I've talked to them, and he said he wants the grass to seed. Okay, well, once the grass seeds, it doesn't seed anymore. You either cut it and get the seeds, and there's rodent issues now. So that's a health issue for all of the surrounding neighbors. My neighbor on the other side, like I had stuff put down. I said, you should probably get some stuff put down. Didn't listen. She came back to me. She came back to me and said, I'm seeing things inside my house. Within a week.
Can we get back to, is there any other general discussion?
No, I have something to ask. When do we expect this first appeals board to meet and go over the citations that have built up over the last couple of years? If it's in place, when do they intend to meet for their first meeting?
The names have been identified, Mr. Simpson. I have not gotten positive contact back from all of them to be able to actually inform the committee for the appeal. Until I get 100% response, I can't do anything.
But Mr. Houston, I gave you that third name almost 2 months ago.
Mr. Simpson, that name was forwarded in an email asking if he was interested because his name was handed to me. I have not heard from him.
Well, I will have him contact you tomorrow.
Very good. I'm ready when we talk to him.
So then you're saying the appeals board isn't in place then if you don't have three?
They said that the people who have been identified but not finalized.
Correct.
So me, like Ms. Lavender North, I don't think instant tickets is our answer. I think that we're penalizing all of our residents for our personal treatment or other people's issues. I think that if someone has an issue and we go out and we give a citation, and the citation allows them 10 days to correct it, and they get it corrected, they should not pay the fine. We don't know the circumstances of every issue. And the same way people contact everyone, I've had contacts also. People who've never had fines before, who's had some very strong circumstances that caused their grass to not be cut. And when they went to go cut it, boom, they got an instant ticket. They've been in their home for 40-something years and have never had a code violation, but they've had a stroke. They're in the hospital. Their relative couldn't get there to cut their grass until that Sunday. But we went out and we gave them an instant ticket that they got to pay regardless of whether they cut the grass or not. I think that that's unfair. And I think the fact that we changed our citation policy because of our own personal treatment, it's just not right. We need to look at this as a residents of a whole. We should not penalize people for a few bad people. We should not penalize everyone. Right. And I think that if we put the processes in place, no, MyGov can't track the citation, but we have a process that when they go out and write that citation, the time period is 11 to 20 days for the follow-up. Is that right, Mr. Logan?
Right.
So if they follow that process and we ensure, because now we have more people that on that 11th day, that code inspector gets that file, gets the code, and say today is June 27th. So 11 days from now, they check that file, that's where that citation went. And they go out and they follow up with those people that they wrote those citations. If they get out there and those things are not done, they cite them. It is gonna take effort, but I think that that's the process. You know, penalizing residents with instant tickets. Now, we already know volunteerism is hard, so now we're trying to put together a committee that we can't even get the people to respond to it, so that's another delay. I believe that we should go back to our citation. You know, now we have the people, and we can effectively do a better job of following up.
Well, particularly if we don't have an appeals board in place, I don't know why we stay with the instant ticket. We should have went back to the citations until we can get an appeals board in place.
I don't know why we changed it because.
I agree.
I agree. I don't know why we changed.
And I will say
I
this.
think we should consider going back to citation. And if you don't feel good about going back to citation, then warn them, send the constituent a warning letter. And we'll be back in 10 days. If it isn't taken care of, we will issue an instant ticket.
That's what we
But
should have been doing.
Listen, well,
Maybe that's what we should have been doing, but it isn't what we were. And we already know there's a problem. So let's look for solutions.
So we have Mr. Dodson here, so he hears what's going on. Am I correct, Steve? And you understand the aggressiveness and the importance of what has to happen in that hall. Again, but our residents should be our biggest concern and priority.
Yes.
We're doing it right away. We have some issues and in order for us to get caught up, we gotta be aggressive and get it done. but we shouldn't penalize everybody in the process.
Right, who made the final decision on going to this?
But
Say it again.
I think that you should not have done that.
So what is the process to go back to the citation? What would it take to go back to the citation and do away with the instant ticket? That's something,
You guys would need to go back and take action on it.
Did we take action to go now?
I remember that the citation for the instant ticket discussion happened in executive.
But we didn't vote on it.
I can speak up for just a second.
Okay.
Instant ticket is listed in numerous places throughout Coatesville's code. It is in the ordinances. It would take several ordinance amendments to abolish instant ticket, if I'm understanding the thought process correctly.
Now, I have a question then. So, Robert, is that, we've had some changes. So is that the up to date? Because I don't know if we call that thing the up to date or the last ordinance. Is that an up to date ordinance? I'm talking about the instant ticket. Because we weren't using instant ticket up until here recently. We were using, the regular thing. So
I think
there's so many different, I mean, our ordinances regarding the post office were, they just weren't current.
I think it was, to Rob's point, I think the instant tickets, as we said, they're throughout the ordinance. I just think it was a matter of enforcing. So because it was, yeah, it's been there, we just never enforced it. So when a decision was made to enforce it, put it back in.
So we need to change the ordinance, if that's what you're saying. So now, according to the third place city code and the state, I will not vote everywhere, whatever, we have that option of doing either. Is that correct, Rob?
So the city of Coatesville is a home rule charter. You're technically a third-class city by general understanding, but the city's governed by its home rule optional charter. So you're technically out of the third-class city code, but I'm just looking at the property maintenance code, and that's where, at least in this reference, there's the alternate citation process.
But what I'm saying is, according to the third place city code, there's options. We just chose that one and made that a part of our charter. So we could trade it. That's what I'm.
I mean, you can always change your code, yes. Yes, you can always change your code.
Can I ask when we decided to go to instant ticket? Can that information be forwarded to us in an email when we decided to do that?
I can tell you, I don't know.
It was towards the end of last year. They decided to go back to the instant tickets because it was instant tickets at one time. And then we went back to the citations, and with the citations, the citation would be issued. The individual would have 10 days to rectify it. If they rectified it, then nothing would be sent to district court. If they didn't rectify it, then it would go over to district court. And the fine would be a fine plus court costs, could be $100 and some. The instant ticket for the first offense is $25. If they don't rectify it in 10 days and codes goes out again, then the next ticket is $50. They have another 10 days to rectify it. If they don't rectify it then and codes goes out again, goes up to $75. But the rural right to know that I put in, the majority of those are not being paid anyway, and there's no enforcement on the follow-up.
So so again, if I could ask, when did we vote to go to instant ticketing?
You did not vote. Ms. Palomino, I remember insisting that is what we had to do. We were on the other, just doing the citation. And that's the thing about it.
Wasn't it an administrative decision to go back to instant tickets?
Well, I think you insisted that who says instant ticket. So
I did talk about the instant tickets because the fine was less than going to the MDJ. I did discuss the instant tickets many times, but My question was, did we vote on it or did administration implement it?
Was a vote necessary or required?
I don't think it was, no.
I mean, it's instant ticket is currently within the code under certain chapters. So again, I'm gonna just reference property maintenance because I'm looking at it. It is already there to the extent that there's a property maintenance code violation. Instant ticket is a permissible thing underneath the code. So there are other places where instant ticket is located. There are many other codes that the city's adopted. But it's there. I don't know when any decision was made, but I can tell you that at least in the property maintenance code, instant ticket is there. I have no idea, because I'm generally newer, when that was enacted in the code.
I think we started doing it like in January.
No, that's not true, because the chicken instant ticket was issued almost 2 years ago.
Yeah, but I'm saying prior to that, we were doing, because that's what the problem was. We were doing citation, Salamine and Cannon said we're not following up on the citation. So the citations, there was no one going out at the end of the 10 days, to check on the citation and then actually find them or take them to court.
So just, if I may, Madam Vice President. So when the instant ticket was issued for the chicken violation,
I don't know.
a year went by, I ascertained what was the status of it, and I was told that they appealed it. And since we don't have an instant ticket appeals board, almost another year has gone by.
Yeah.
It was COVID, man.
Because that's why I said Mr. Dobson is here, and I think that he hears the urgency that he needs to put forth in that position as in the coast guard, you know. He's hearing the urgency.
Yeah, I also
Yeah,
think.
he's
that,
heard it
you know,
before.
He's
This
hearing
is,
it firsthand now.
Rob, before you go, this also is an opportunity for, you know, as council, there are opportunities to have workshops. And if this warrants a workshop on how this particular system works,
My.
I would suggest that we do that.
That'd be a great idea.
That's
Come on now.
wonderful.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Absolutely.
All right, so the Yardbirds must go.
So, are we done with the code issue?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go on to Chester County Department of Community Development, CDP. Great.
And it's just a notification that the CDBG grants are out. They basically came out in May. Deadline is Wednesday, the 29th. The city of Coastal will be submitting an application for infrastructure work. This letter is in your packet, and it just kind of outlines the 2023, 2024 entitlement application guidelines. So we submitted by Wednesday. This is not for awards until 2023.
And then our Pedler's letter of application. That is here.
This has been kind of an ongoing conversation. I mean, a lot of the peddler's license information is in our E-codes, and it states what the purpose is in terms of what a peddler is. Since I've been here, I've been struggling with the word peddler because peddlers are individuals that go door to door, salesmen, things like that. But the city of Coastal, because we have so many events going on, and we have people that want to come into the city and then not peddle, but they want to vend, they want to sell their goods and services at various events that we have. There is no distinct clarity to what a vendor is and what a peddler is. So what I would like to propose council to consider adding language that defines what a vendor is. Because when you read in our E-codes, section 172-1, under purpose, it says the city further desires that a person engaged in such activities shall be required to obtain a license in order that the identity of those persons may be established so that general regulations may be more effectively enforced for the protection and maintenance of health, safety, and welfare of its inhabitants. So that's kind of the, and there's more to it. That's kind of the purpose of it in terms of peddling, soliciting. You know, back in the day, you just didn't know it's not going to work. And even now, it's probably more dangerous. So I understand the peddler's portion of it. When someone just been on a site, say a park, or, you know, Wilson Park, they are vending at you know, a location, they're not talking. So again, when you look at and read the definition of peddler, I think we need to revisit that and maybe come up with something. Because right now, when you look at this application, we're asking for things, and aside from the you have the background check, and we ask for what your driver's license, and I think that's important to have. But you know, for individuals that just want to vend for one day, this application is very cumbersome.
Yeah, you know, I think it's the same requirement that they did to background child.
Cannot hear. Oops.
If they're gonna bid, say they're gonna have something in the park, they have to submit to the background check. That's a requirement by the state. I remember when we got that a couple years ago, that they had to have that.
I get it, but it just, again, we're gonna be turning a lot of people away that, you know, I mean, everyone at our Unity Day, Grand Prix, they're all subject to, you know, this form here, and it makes it very difficult.
I think that's unfortunate, but if they have to submit to the child abuse parents, you don't want a pedophile selling in our courts. You don't want them, I mean, if they have to submit to their parents, I mean, that's a requirement. I think that we have a responsibility to protect people and make sure, you know, it may be cumbersome, but we're giving them a license to be in our courts and sell personal. And they may be pedophile. Now, I was sure that this was not something that the city came up
Yeah, it might be. Chief, I'm just curious, so in terms of we did a background check, was it a deep dive background check?
The primary point would be the criminal history check, you know, which is run. And the clean NCIC goes back to the criminal history check for peddler license. Make sure, as Councilwoman Green said, make sure they don't have prohibitive offenses, being convicted of those offenses.
So again, at least can we consider crafting some language for the vendor?
Yes. Or separate application.
Well, I don't know if we can add the word vendor to our existing application. I don't know what the legal ramifications are for that. Instead of right now, it's a peddler slash solicitor license. And I'm sure it doesn't mean you, that's the solicitor. But peddler slash
Should add carpetbagger too.
Yeah, perfect.
Mrs. Logan, why don't you just, write something up? Yeah. What do you say, that's enough?
Yeah, it's more of just kind of clarifying what peddler is versus a vendor.
First, yeah, write it up.
Thank you.
All right, now, If we don't have any action items, you have to have the different hearings with action items.
Oh.
So can we just bypass that? I mean,
Yes.
so, on to reports.
I provided a more detailed attorney-client privilege report to council. Since council's last meeting, I provided and continue to provide legal advice to the city regarding land development matters. I attended the planning commission meeting where 379 and 383 Valley Road was discussed. I communicated with outside counsel regarding certain litigation matters. My office has worked on certain right-to-know matters. I reviewed and provided an opinion regarding a leasing matter. And most recently, this past Friday, I attended a meeting with the Trina Solar representatives. That is my public report, unless there are any further questions about it. Thank you.
So I just have a few items. The first item is reference to 3082 realignment. Many of you have suffered a couple of years of that construction being completed or that construction existing here in the city. We are pretty much completed with the road itself right now. We're doing signaling, signal testing, say. But everything else looks like pretty much completed. We have one section sidewalk area that needs to be completed, but we have to wait for PennDOT signs off on that. But for all intents and purposes, the driving portion of the 38 realignment is open and streamlined. But if you haven't gone through the intersection, please do so. It's a nice smooth ride. For the first time since I've lived in this area, there is no longer a zigzag to get across Lincoln Highway. Yeah, there are a number of people that are involved in this over the years that sometimes they'll get, in acknowledgement. And I will say that, Peterbilt, PennDOT, ECO, all of the folks that were involved in this, we finally got it done. We had some hiccups along the way. We had some change orders, but, kind of part of the construction. This went a lot longer than we anticipated, but it is done now. We hope that, people will be able to kind of get through the city in an easier functional way. So thank you to all those folks that were part of this. In addition to some of the downtown activity, we are looking to have 3 restaurants, an axe throwing restaurant open in the downtown area. We have an old bank, the old bank building, I should say. Plans are coming along with the sale process, and the owner plans to renovate the building and into a restaurant. We anticipate that opening in 2023. So again, we're looking at about 3 restaurants happening. Bistro on Lincoln is open. Mark Melanie's is working on the project in 132 East Lincoln Highway. We're very excited about that project as well. So lots going on in terms of here in the city. On the flats, the flats development group or investor group continues to move forward through their due diligence. We are constantly in talks and updates on what's going on. There's a lot of positive activity that's going on with the group. They are in talks with new tenants, including the Boys and Girls Club, and they've already secured a physical therapist organization company called Elite Therapy. So good things are happening with the last one. We continue to welcome and engage with new investors. Thanks to Springsteen, she introduced us to an investor that came in the city last week. We went on a tour with them. came back to an email on Friday. He's, him and his company, they're very interested in 2 parcels here in the city of Cokesville. And we forwarded him some information on particular parcels. So we're very excited about that. And thank you again, Susan, for the introduction. The city is planning to host in the fall its first economic summit. One of the reasons why this is important is with all of this activity, Rich and I, we sit down along with Chip, and we do a lot of number crunching, we do a lot of projections, and we're coming into our own in terms of the economic impact that we're having in this region. And the idea was presented to me by someone in the economic development space to consider having a summit. That summit will feature local investors, the entrepreneurs that we've been working with at University, developers and nonprofits. And the thrust of the whole summit would be how we all are working together to change the city. And we'll be talking about the benefits and the impacts of what these projects bring, as well as what's the next iteration of chapters for some of the nonprofits. So this is something that again, it's very in the early stages. I'll be looking at Rich for some data in reference to the economic landscape of Cokesville. But we think it'll be an important summit and something that attracts a lot of people. On Tuesday, tomorrow, I think everybody could show up for this, but at 190 West, there will be a ribbon cutting. What time is that? But you might want to get there early because I don't know if she's catering quickly. All right. In addition to tomorrow's event, Unity Day is 2 weeks away. July 9th, Gateway Park. And we're very excited about that. And there's a lot of events that are happening. On our website. Our calendar is full of activities in the community. So please get an opportunity to look, check it out. That's all I have.
Thank you. Start off my normal, it's been a nice, we get the same number a year and a half to say that COVID is not dropping. Finally, Chester County has got to flow back into the low category. So that's great news for us and the community. You heard from James about the restaurants opening up, but one of them specifically I want to point out. The Record Kitchen and Bar, that will be the one adjacent to the Expo. They're having a hiring event on Friday, July 8th from noon to 5. And Saturday, July 9th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. of Midway Arts. Don't go to the record building, go to Midway Arts. And they're looking for staff to take on the role of the restaurant going. And that's the 204 East Lincoln Highway. Job fairs that we Midway Arts. Okay. The other one is, we've already heard from Code. I'm not going to go back. No, I'm going to keep on. We're now 3.5 weeks into the new trash collection, and I'm going to be honest enough to sit here and say we've got a few hiccups. We've got some missed streets and missed addresses. Sometimes the recycling picked up okay, sometimes the trash picked up okay. I just got a text from Eagle. They will get on my request ASAP in the morning tomorrow. So bear with us as we change. It's been 3.5 weeks for the trash. It is a combination of both Eagle's guys running a new path. Also, our residents are putting out their trash on Monday, but their trash time is Tuesday. So they get a call and they say, my trash is picked up. Well, no, because your street was changed. So it's a combination of it. And we'll get through this. So that is the majority of my report.
Thank you. dates that are out there?
Sure. The dates again are Friday, July 8th, from noon to 5. And Saturday, July 9th, from 10 to 3 p.m. Both at Midway Arts.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How you doing, Rich?
Good evening, Madam President, Madam Vice President, Council. I almost feel like it's kind of just a little, but I just want to clarify, first of all, there's no three of us coming up with brainstorming. They get the idea and they say, go crunch the numbers. That's the way it's going. So, we all have our strengths and our contributions. Anyway, so what I'm going to refer to is the traditional circle square document that you have in the packages, and it's for the results through May 31st. So the big picture good news is the funds are ahead of budget for the 5 months. And I would say that they're substantially ahead. And you've heard me talk about, and I've talked about the economic activity that's been so good in the city. Well, we had another one of good economic activity in real estate transfers and earned income tax. So from a practical standpoint, we're running about twice as many properties selling a month as a year ago. And we're running, and with that, we're also seeing a higher dollar value on the properties. And so last year, we might have 1 or 2 properties here and there at a $300,000 price point. This year, there's been a couple of 400,000. So I'm not the real estate expert, but yes, averages, they're going up. And for example, in the real estate transfer tax, some of these numbers are amazing. Compared to last year, through 5 months, we're 66% ahead. And it's not a few $1,000s. We're talking about over $160,000 more than last year. We have already hit the 2022 budget. We have already hit the 2022 budget. Let me give you, just to put it in context, it's roughly equivalent through 5 months of over $30 million worth of market sale. If you reverse it backwards, there's about $30 million worth of properties that transferred hands in the first 5 months. So again, we've already hit the budget and we will be stockpiling the money. So that's good. Yeah, well, yeah, stay tuned. So then the other point I would make is we have the earned income tax. And that actually is our largest component of how the city funds its programs and expenses. And in that case, we're 15.7% ahead of last year. That's a big deal when we're talking about where it comes from, and A, it's a big number, and B, it comes from individual wages.
Yeah.
So people are working and they're getting paid more. It's a combination of them. So all these hiring events are helpful, and that was a strategic decision to invest time and effort, largely from Mr. Logan's push to do those things. And so now we heard of another one, and we're going to hear of more businesses coming online. So it's all helping. And so to that extent, those are the 2 big ones that we can do some things to help, but they're really being driven by the general overall economy. And we shouldn't kid ourselves that we can help control that and squeeze budgets or tighten this or invest here or there. We really are best thing we can do is just make it a conducive place to live and work. And then rely on the economy to help. So those are the 2 points. Real estate taxes are still being collected ahead of pace. So both budget and ahead of last year. And the cool thing is that residents, owners have saved money because they're not going to pay the 10% penalty because they're paid early or on time. So there are savings being generated that are being kept in their households and in their businesses. So that's also a cool thing. And so that's the revenue side on some of the neat things that are happening. The expenses are under control. They're being fine with where they're at. And so the combination puts us at a $334,000 positive surplus through 5 months. And now we're gonna, now here's where the hesitancy comes in. I have to balance everything out, but the positives and the not so positives. And based on, Mr. Logan alluded to it with the flats, there's some good things happening around. But based on activity that happened last Monday with the RDA, it looks like the flats could possibly be, most likely will be pushed into next year. So that's going to be something that we as a city budgeted for that to happen this year. So we have to keep working with RDA to determine how that amendment might be structured. And they have said they will get back to us with next steps. But that's $600,000 in our budget. So we need to be stockpiling to most likely cover that off. And the way we're going, it would seem that if the economy keeps cooperating, we would be able to cover that off. So I'm not panicking, I'm just communicating one of the higher risks that are in our budget. So we're just gonna keep monitoring that and be cautious. And so that, and it's great to hear about the restaurants and those types of things happening. But the bigger pieces that we're projecting in the budget are being pushed back also from a development standpoint. So those also will have to keep monitoring. So that's basically where we're at this point. And unless there's any questions, I will, that is my report.
Any questions from anyone?
Yeah, Rich, before you go, so as Rich mentioned, the flats, but in addition to that, Rich also looks at, and I know he does, what's happening with our economy right now. Interest rates are going up. They're going to go up again next month. We are working with Bonds New Plan with MCBC. They have a first-time home right. They launched this program. We weren't in this situation. People are out working. He was helping them, and he continues to help them get their credit scores up so they can move from renters to home ownership. But because of the increase in every money that they were making in gains, basically then are being washed away. So one of the things we have to look at is, the city itself, as we continue to grow, we would like people to be mindful that, it's almost like what happened with COVID. We were basically in a panic mode because we didn't think people would have money to pay their tax. And actually, it was not. So I guess what I'm saying in roundabout ways, don't panic. Our residents are out working. They're getting jobs, high-paying jobs. But they have to, we're going to have to weather this storm. It's going to get rocky, probably third, fourth quarter. Indicators show that they don't see a turnaround until sometime next year. But if the city itself continues to move in a positive way, working with investors, our inspections with renters and things like that, and our landlords. We will continue to have these numbers, but, it's gonna take a, collaborative effort with everyone. And I have to say, Rich, when you use the word stockpile, I don't wanna, let people think that we're stockpiling money, because the money that we get from the city, it goes out to a lot of projects, construction work, a lot of construction work, all of that, our stormwater management system, almost failure. So we're not, stockpiling it in the sense of just keeping it and not using it. It is allocated, or it will be allocated to the various needs and uses. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Rich.
Fireworks. Nice one.
We will now have
Let it
the
begin.
hearing on non-agenda items.
There are none.
Can I get a motion to close?
Councilman Simpson?
Sorry,
Sorry, Councilman Simpson?
I'm sorry, the it cut out. What are we voting on now? It cut out. We couldn't hear anything.
Closing the hearing.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilman Fultz?
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen?
Yeah.
Councilwoman Alameen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Green?
Yeah.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Council comment?
Well, I don't know. All of a sudden Linda's thing kept coming up. I couldn't hear a word. What,
Comment?
council comments? Okay. All right. So I got a few of them tonight. So I'll just start here. That when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitles them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. That's the first chapter of the Declaration of Independence. I'm going to end with that tonight. I'm going to give you another chapter at the next meeting. We need to get back to our roots. Thank you, everybody, for coming out.
Thank you, Mr. Benson. Mr. Fultz?
Yeah, since it was long, have a good night.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
That's sort of thing that we punch out, and my heart is really heavy for how here in my city. I just very hard that no lives are lost. Hard, really hard. Securing my own. Every single I came. So. My colleagues as well.
Almy? Ms. Almy?
Good evening, everybody. I just want to thank everybody for coming out. You know, we have some really exciting things coming to our city, but I hope us as a council and the administration can work together to where, you know, we can better serve the people. I know there's always a set of circumstances, and we have to look at that, but I also feel that, you know, Coatesville is as warranted as any place else in Chester County. And you can't go any place else in Chester County and get the same appearance of properties not being intended to that we have here in Coatesville. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you, Ms. Almy. I'm gonna give my comments up there, President, so, I'm gonna give my comments. I just wanna thank everyone for coming out. Chief, I have one thing for you, I don't know, I've been getting a lot of calls about the Olive Street and Pennsylvania Avenue, that intersection right there, there's a stop sign on Olive. And, cars that park on the corner make it very difficult to see where you proceed, for cars coming down. And I don't know if that's something that we looked into before, that maybe we have no parking on the corner, because, you know, people are parking SUVs, and when you're coming to Olive Street, for any of that whole block of going over it, you have to pull out pretty far to be able to see if a car is coming down. And, there's been so many almost accidents because they're parking right on the corner. And if it's a small car there, it's no problem. If you're parking SUVs and vans, things like that, people really get.
Okay. We'll follow up on that. We'll make sure our corners are marked.
Yeah.
Public Works will assist us in painting those corners if necessary. And we also onboarded our new parking enforcement officer today. So hopefully we get her up to speed over the next week or two, but we'll make sure we hit those areas.
Thank you so much. That's it for me.
I'm sorry. Speaking of parking, Chief, do you know if the OIC still has that, do they?
Yes.
Is there any way we can look into that to make sure they're doing that? Because Fifth Avenue, there literally is no parking
Okay.
for anyone. And even the director at the library called me because she had no parking in her parking lot as well. And so she thought maybe I had a funeral, but I didn't. And so, but literally by 7:30 in the morning, there is no parking. So,
Okay. We'll follow up on that.
maybe just, do that best.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks you.
Thank you, and, I look forward to your grand opening. Yeah, so appreciate you, and appreciate the fact that you return college to the city. Where that's amazing. And, I know that to me, a lot of you, been here and shown how much those believe, and I appreciate you. And you're excited about the city. Last but not least, our president with us, Saturday Norris, your council comments.
Thank you. I'm sitting here listening, and I missed a lot of everything that was said. I don't know. I think we need to adjust our mics. Mrs. Hunt was just speaking, and I didn't hear anything she said. I'm not complaining. I'm just informing, so we'll be aware moving forward. It's been a wonderful evening. We stayed later tonight without an action item than we do when we have 6 or 7 of them. However, that too will be cleared up, I'm sure. It's been a blessing. Councilwoman Green, thank you so much for running the meeting. And to my colleagues, thank you all also. It's just another example of we all need one another, and working together, we can get the job done. To all our constituents, all of our constituents, God bless you. Thank you. And please have a good night along with our staff, our administration. You've been good, and I thank you for it. Everybody have a blessed evening.
Thank you. We have a motion to adjourn.
Can I, before you go, can I just say one more thing? The month of June has been a wonderful celebratory month, and it's another example of community. So thank you so much for that. Everybody, just enjoy the city of Coatesville. Thank you again. I'm through.
Motion?
I'll make that.
Yes.
Councilwoman Green,
Yeah.
Councilwoman Alameen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen,
Councilman Fulton.
Councilman Polk,
Yeah.
Councilman Simpson,
Yes, as long as Donald Folks sits down.
Right?
Councilwoman Lavender North.
Oh. Yes.
Thank you.
Good night, all.
Good night, Donald.